Welcome to Baseball Biz. It's going to be an exciting day. We're going to take a look at what's happening with the Cardinals, the Nationals, Albert Pujols. What's happening with the Blue Jays? Brent Cardy is going to be visiting today and giving us some special insight on what's happening with that team as well. But right now, let's get started. I'm Mark Harbert, your host, and with me is Mr. Brandon No Way. How you doing today, Brandon?
I'm doing half bad, Mark. How about you?
Man, it's another fun time. I mean, what are we looking here? It is Thursday, March 31st. It is the last week, the last few remaining days of spring training. Yeah, I mean, look at this, man. We're talking next Thursday, the 7th. It's going to be opening day.
Yeah, I mean, remember like a month ago, I never would have thought we would have been here. I mean, you could just go back and listen to the shows. We thought, maybe July if there was going to be a season. But here we are. We're going to get an opening day in April.
Exciting stuff. A month ago, I was saying, well, just scratch the 2022 season. They're not going to be able to get together. There'll be no CBA. There'll be no games for anybody to watch. And I was encouraging everybody to go see softball games, which they still should. And I was encouraging them to go see minor league games, which they still should. And enjoy. There's a lot of sports out there. You were talking NASCAR. We talked soccer. But we have baseball. It is back. And as of next Thursday, all the official 162 games for each team will begin.
And I can't believe it. I'm still going to watch some of those other sports, but it's going to be good to have baseball on every night to just give you something else to watch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And spring training, one of my concerns, Brandon, is it's kind of an abbreviated year for spring training because, well, that 90-day lockout, whatever, from our good friend, Mr. Manfred, really kind of tied things down to where we lost a week or two of actually the training for these players.
And hopefully, I mean, I've said this before, hopefully it doesn't backfire on them like it did for the COVID season. Because, I mean, remember we had all these guys with, soft tissue injuries, pitchers were having a bunch of injuries as well. Hopefully it's a little bit better now, which I think it might be because, you have the 162 games, so you can probably ease them into it a little bit easier. Whereas with the 60 games, you kind of didn't have a choice because you pretty much had to go from the start.
Yeah, that was my concern as well. So hopefully all those players are getting stretched out enough, but I don't know the time. Time will tell as this season develops. But one thing we know, a lot of folks say, well, Mark, Brandon, this time of year with spring training, you really can't take these games seriously. I mean, what are you looking at here? These guys are just straight. They're just stretching out. This is just like those street games. You get a few guys out there in the middle of the asphalt street and you pick up a game and nobody's really counting who wins or loses. But last night, if you were a Cardinals fan, I think you would have picked up who won or lost.
Yeah, the Cardinals, I don't know what they're trying to do, if they're trying to bring back the greatest show on turf back to St. Louis, just the baseball edition, but in 29 runs, I know it's spring training, but 29 runs in baseball, I don't think I've ever seen that. I think the highest I've seen is 22.
That is just dumbfounding. I mean, this was a 9-inning game. This was a game where St. Louis, the score at the top of the sixth, they had scored, what was it, 11? 11-0 at the top of the sixth. You look at the first 6 innings of this game, and you got 4 runs in the first, 4 runs in the second. This is St. Louis. They come up with another 3 runs in the fourth, 2 in the sixth, and suddenly, here you are, you're looking at 13 runs at the top of the sixth, and at that point, Washington had nothing. They come back with 4 runs, but then at the top of the 8th, St. Louis decided to really stretch it out. Man, they put 15 runs on the top right there. Bam. I'm sorry. Is there a mercy rule in spring training? I think there should be.
Yeah. I mean, you think that there would be just because it's kind of a meaningless game, but I mean, just looking at the Cardinals batting stats, from what I can see, all but maybe 3 guys had a hit. Even our good friend Corey Dickerson, he was 2 for 3 and had 2 RBIs. So he had himself a good day. And Paul DeJong, I believe that's how you say it. I can never say it right, but he led the way. He was 3 for 3 with 5 RBIs, and he's hitting 471 this spring. And Paul Goldschmidt, he's hitting 526.
That man, give me that number all day long.
I mean, it probably won't carry over into the regular season, but hey, I'd brag while you can.
Yeah. So again, 29-8, the Cardinals over the Nationals. Man, I was looking at an article this morning too from Craig Calcaterra. If you guys ever get a chance, he's got a was a blog here called Cup of Coffee. It's a great one to subscribe to, and on Thursdays it's free. So I got it that way as well. But I actually do subscribe. Anyway, what he's talking about the game last night, wearing it. That's a phrase I guess we used quite a bit in baseball. And he was talking about Cade Cavalli, a pitcher for the Nationals. And man, he did have to wear it. Can you imagine, Brandon, being that player, having to deal with watching all those numbers going up? If you're the head of the Nationals, are you going to put anybody else out there to pitch? Because, well, quite honestly, we're looking at opening day. We're looking at regular season around the corner. And I don't think I'd want to waste anybody else out there on the mound.
Yeah, I mean, I'd feel bad for that kid. Hopefully he's not, fighting for a roster spot. But, I mean, I just used to call those people the punching bag, but wearing it, I guess you could call it that. And, I mean, I say wearing it's putting it lightly.
Yeah, more like, I don't know. It's like carrying a tank on your back or something, because he came out there when St. Louis already had 11-zip lead. So you talk about wearing it. He had to wear what was already there and then had to continue on for the next, 3 or 4 innings to try to make some kind of sense out of it. And said, nope, we're not putting anybody else out there. You go ahead and finish up, Cade. Wow. But the excitement of that game spilled over until, looking at, I think one of the biggest things that came out with that game was watching the return of the man who wore red. He wore it for 2 decades. Then he put on blue for about a year. And then he's back to the Cardinals. Mr. Albert Pujols.
He was one of those guys, even growing up, when I was little, he was the best player in baseball, and he's certainly going to go down as one of the best. He's also one of those guys to me that's like Freddie Freeman, where, there's just that one uniform where it looks like he belongs in, like how Freeman looked like he belonged in a Braves uniform. Pujols looked like he belonged in a Cardinals uniform. And even though he was with the Angels for a decade, it still never looked right. And it's good because he's come out and said that this is his last year. And I have a theory on something which I can possibly share later. And it's cool to see it come full circle to where he had his best years and to where he can end it.
Yeah, you would love to see somebody who is basically identified as a St. Louis Cardinal. Like I said, even though he's been gone all these years, as an Angel, to be able to finish up his career there. It's huge. You look at him, Mr. Pujols now, he's 42 years of age and he's doing the DH thing. Yesterday at that Cardinals Nationals game, he had his first hit for the spring training season. And there's something that's just very exciting about that. When they called his name the other day as he stepped onto the field, the crowd was outrageously insane, so happy to see him there. But I want to reflect back on something you said a moment ago when you're talking about Albert Pujols and Freddie Freeman. There's some similarities about their departure from their main franchise, if you will. When Freddie left, he was expecting some sort of offer or extension, before the World Series came to a close. And that didn't happen. Pujols, similar situation. There he is. His team's winning the Game 7 in the World Series, and there's no offer on the table per Albert. Now, there's actually been some conflicting information back and forth about what actually happened there. And the ownership may indicate one thing, and then Pujols another. I'm not here to judge, but what's interesting is it's very similar as far as what's went on with Freddie Freeman in the Braves.
Yeah, and looking at all the success that Pujols had just in his time in St. Louis was a Hall of Fame career in itself. I mean, he won a batting championship back in 2003. He was a 2-time World Series champion, a 9-time All-Star, a 3-time NL MVP, and a 6-time Silver Slugger. And that's all in, a decade span? That's a Hall of Fame career just right there.
So that was just as long as he was there with St. Louis. That's not counting any of his time with the Angels whatsoever, which I don't think was anywhere near as spectacular as what he did with St. Louis, though.
No, it wasn't as spectacular, but I mean, just look at what he did. He could have retired back in 2011 and arguably is a first ballot Hall of Famer then. And even though his time in LA wasn't the greatest, he still wasn't a schmuck out there. He was still Albert Pujols.
That's right. That's right. And so I'm really glad. I'm happy for him to see all this. It is interesting because you and I were talking yesterday about the senior class, if you will, of baseball, and seeing who has the staying power. You know, who are teams willing to keep? And quite often you see players who get dumped. I mean, much as Pujols got dumped by the Angels and the Dodgers, then picked him up. These things happen. But if you look at the Cardinals right now, I think they have like 3 of the top 5 oldest active players in the league right now. You're looking at Pujols. He's right now, he's the DH. You got Adam Wainwright, a pitcher who's still performing great. He's 40 years old. And you got Yadier Molina, the catcher, who's 39. Huge, huge. That doesn't just happen. I mean, these guys have to have some worth. You know, you say, well, maybe the Cardinals are just content. I don't know. I don't think that their farm system's right at the top. I really need to do a little bit of homework on that before I really say that. But you look at the quality of the players. I mean, like you were talking about Pujols, all the things he achieved just when he was with St. Louis before. I don't know. Having these legacy players doesn't seem standard across MLB.
No, to me, the Cardinals to baseball seem like the Steelers to football in a way, to where they're one of those prestigious organizations where they're never bad. They're always in the conversation for being good or elite, and they'll win from time to time. And they always have the big names. Because I mean, look at Wainwright and Molina. I believe they're both career Cardinals, and Wainwright was, I don't remember if he was gone for a year or if he was just injured for the year, but there was a time where he wasn't. And then Pujols coming back. And I kind of want to throw this out there. And we talked about it. I don't remember if it was yesterday or a couple of days ago. So I want to throw it out there because I think Buster Olney kind of stole my idea this morning. I was kind of half asleep when he said it. I'm wondering, because Molina, there was rumors last year that he was going to retire in the offseason. Then he signed the 1-year deal. Wainwright's kind of contemplating retirement. He hasn't said anything. He said that he's thought about it, which is kind of like, you know, at this stage, it's probably when it creeps into your mind, you're already retired in a way.
Yeah.
And then Pujols has come out and said that this is it for him. Is this going to be their version of The Last Dance? Because, I mean, you got these 3 guys here all together. Can you think of a time, not just in baseball, but in any sport, where 3 cornerstones of an organization through its entire existence could go out at the same time?
No. I mean, I'm looking at the A's right now. Look at all they're trading away, all that great talent going away at the same time. But that comes from trades. But no, I can never think of a time where there were like 3 top impressive players who retired off of one team at the same time. That's huge.
And I'm leaving out college because, I mean, that's happened plenty of times, you know, senior classes or juniors going into the draft, that happens. But in professional sports, I don't think it's ever happened.
No. And when you're talking about collegiate, you think NCAA and University of Kentucky, and how short a period of time those guys stay. Hardly anybody makes it to the senior year there. They all leave before then. But that's part of their plan. So, you know, when we look at that and you're talking about senior players leaving and who's been staying, I mean, there's some of these senior franchise players. You look at Joey Votto, man. Here he is at first base. You know, he's been there 38 years old, and he spent his entire career with Cincinnati Reds. And at 38-year-old, yesterday, he hit a double and brought in 2 RBIs. So that's maybe the best thing having the Reds this spring training.
I mean, he deserves an award or something for spending the 38 years, his entire career with the Reds. Because, I mean, I can't think of any time where they had great success. I know they won a wild card game a couple times against they just won the wild card game a couple times, if that. So, I mean, that's really loyal of him, but He should get an award for that.
I think the Reds fans, I mean, it's nice to have a face of a franchise. I think Votto's definitely that for the Reds. Well, let's look in another direction. I mean, here's a guy I think most people know in baseball. Mr. New York Yankee, Mr. Bald Guy, Mr. Intense Face, Mr. Brett Gardner from the outfield. He's going to be turning 39 this year, Brandon.
Oh, I wonder if he can still hit the top of the dugout with his bat like he has a couple times.
Ooh. Yeah, he's I think anger management classes were due for him. But what's interesting is that I'm seeing last I saw as early as a couple of days ago, I don't think pen has been put to paper for him to continue with the Yankees. I think Brian Cashman's still saying, well, what I have right now looks pretty good. I don't know that I need anybody else, meaning Brett Gardner.
It seems like for them the past couple of years, it's been like, okay, this is his last game in the pinstripes. And everybody thinks that he's gone. It's like, we're going to bring him back for one more year. And then we thought he was going to be gone again. We'll bring him back one more time. We need the help. So is this it? Is he finally going to go retire, live his life, or is he going to come back for a third time? Hope it's a charm.
I don't know. As much as he seems kind of crazy to me watching him all the time. I enjoy looking at his intensity. When you see that man's stone face and those little slits for eyes, he looks like he's more intense. He looks like he's more focused than just about anybody. But to see that poor son of a gun, totally explode sometimes in the dugout when it didn't work out for him, maybe he needs to go ahead and retire anyway. So that's for Brian Cashman to determine, and Brett Gardner, not me.
Yeah, then he has to stand next to Aaron Judge in the outfield.
Oh, we'll talk about him in a little bit too.
He'd make a lot of people look short, including us.
Definitely me. Oh gosh. Well, we're going to talk about Judge in a few minutes, but I want to talk about a few other seniors that are out there. One of the ones, one of my favorite guys, he just retired last September, and that's Carlos Gomez, man. I absolutely love that guy. He was a comedian when he was with the Rays, but he also was pretty good up there at the bat too. He's entertaining. I loved it because he kept his kids involved in his game, you could say, in a sense, because when he walked up a couple of times a couple of years ago with the Rays, I'd hear the music. His walk-up music was from the SpongeBob theme.
I did not know he was 35. I thought he was younger. Yeah.
He's got a fresh face. You would have thought as much, but that's why I was kind of knocked when I heard he retired. But 35, so 35 is a good age to retire in baseball. It's probably longer than a lot of people last.
Yeah, it's a good time. He had a successful career, got plenty of money. Now you can spend more time with the family and just live your life.
Yeah, and another Ray. I'm sorry, I get stuck on these guys. Okay. One who a lot of people thought had retired to, Mexican leagues down there, and that was Sergio Romo. Here he is, 39 years of age. I love watching this guy up there, the little beard sticking down there, a little kind of Fu Manchu-ish, and licking his finger, walking around the mound each time. But the Mariners, they went ahead and signed him up with a 1-year deal. I don't think he had anything until about a week ago.
He's another guy I didn't think was as old as he was. I mean, he has the energy of a little kid out there.
Yeah, he brings a lot to it. I mean, he's got a certain mentality. I know there's a lot of people who's like, oh my gosh, I can't stand that man. When he's out there, it's like, well, you know what? That's Sergio. So buy into it, okay? And what we're looking at here, it seems like some of the pitchers really have some staying power. If we're looking at Rich Hill, another former Ray, Rich is still doing fantastic. And let's see who's another, Justin Verlander. Ooh, yeah. I'd love to have either one of those guys on my team.
I remember there was talk. I don't know if it really went anywhere, but there was possibility that Verlander would have gone back to Detroit for a while, but he wound up going back to Houston. And then, another guy who's been with one team for a long time is Miguel Cabrera. He's probably got maybe a year, maybe 2 left. I don't know what his contract looks like, but that money's going to come off the books soon. But a lot of these guys, it feels like they've been around forever almost.
Yeah, it does. And looking back at Rich Hill, like I said, he's going back home. He's going back to to Boston. He's going to be there with, I think his family, his origins up there in Massachusetts as well. And you talk about Miguel Cabrera.
He was with the Marlins for a couple of years, and then they traded him away after one of the World Series.
Yeah, so that's interesting to see where he's at. So I don't know. I'm real excited about some of these seniors that are still out there in the game, and it makes it entertaining and it makes it exciting for all of us. Well, if you're going to look at players who've been with a team for a while, or actually players who played quite a bit, now there's one guy. Now he played 27 seasons. Now it's from 1966 to 1993. He played for the Mets, played for the Angels, played for the Astros, and finally with the Rangers. And I think then he wound up working at the front office with the Rangers as well. Do you know who that is?
Well, that's not somebody that played for the Rays.
Yeah,
was he a pitcher?
He was.
I'm gonna go Nolan Ryan.
Yeah. I mean, we were just talking about the longevity of some of these pitchers, but yes, that's Nolan Ryan. For 27 seasons he played, 1966 to 1993. And then he also worked in the front office with the Rangers as well. So outstanding. The only other person, there was actually another ball player who worked for 27 seasons, and that was Cap Anson, a name we all remember because he played from 1871 to 1897.
Just missed out on him.
I'm old, but I missed that one too, as well as my grandfather and my father. But
my great grandfather missed that career.
Yeah. So there you go. But there's a lot of activity going on. I mean, we're talking a lot about the oldsters. We're talking about the senior class. We're talking about those who have graduated / retired, and we're looking now at what's still happening. The 99-day lockout's done. Spring training started. All the players are out there, but there's still a few people who don't have anything finalized as far as what they're going to get paid out there. And in baseball biz, we're all about business of getting paid. But still waiting for that check, Brandon. I know I am.
Yeah, me too. Need to get the higher ups on that.
I'm telling you, brother. But the looking at some of the signing and trades and arbitration news, looking about Aaron Judge, I thought he was going to be in arbitration, but I don't know that he is. He's looking for something a little bit more. He's there. I think it's his last year of arbitration before he becomes a free agent.
Yeah, I never really saw him in arbitration, those two put together, at least through the news stories. But I did see, I believe it was this weekend that they were finalizing their first offer towards Judge. So it looks like maybe around this time we can start get the ball rolling. And as the season goes on, maybe get some more news about it. But I mean, I think that'd be a player the Yankees would want to lock down. Yeah,
I was looking at one article too concerning this. And what they were saying was, let's see, it came from a quote. He saw Francisco Lindor score a $341 million contract last March, almost as soon as he joined New York's other team via a trade with Cleveland. Now, can you imagine that? You're looking and you see somebody like Lindor, who's fantastic, and $341 million. He was in his last year, I guess, of arbitration, and got traded to the Mets. And wow, they said, you know what, Lindor, we want to go ahead and extend you right now for $341 million. You don't think Aaron Judge thinks twice after seeing that?
I'd be thinking of some good money coming into my bank account. I mean, we could have like an arms race of spending up in New York with the two teams. But I mean, Judge is like, he's a guy where, he does have the injury problems, but especially if I'm the Yankees with that small stadium, all he has to do is basically flick his wrist and it's a home run. He's so strong. So if he can give you like, what does he get? Like 30, 40 home runs a year almost.
Mm-hmm.
I'd pay for that. And he's got a cannon for an arm.
Huge. So we'll see where that rolls out. So Mr. Aaron Judge, good luck to you. And I won't say that for the Yankees because I just can't say that for the Yankees. What can I say? I was kidding with Brent Cardy, who had an interview with yesterday, and you'll hear that after this. But one of the things we were saying is, hey, do you think that Aaron Judge, well, he won't be allowed to play in Toronto? He's non-vaxxed. And I was checking with Chris Torello, a sports announcer here in the Tampa area. Say, Chris, I said, do you think they actually will dock him? And he said, yes. That seemed, I think it was pretty cut and dry. So I said, okay, that makes sense. Looking at that, other people are still outstanding there because this deal isn't done yet with Judge. Michael Conforto. Here's a guy who you would thought would have been a top prospect, or should say a top free agent, and that his deal would be done by now. It's not. He's still out there. There's nothing done.
No, he's a guy that, honestly, I'm surprised nobody's picked up yet, because he seems like he's been a consistent player most of the time. He's only, I think, like 29, and I thought he was much older than that. But I mean, he's a guy that really I'm kind of surprised is still out there, unless there's something I'm missing from this. I thought he would have been picked up by now.
I don't know if you were missing it, but I don't think it was common knowledge for a while. I think one Scott Boras is his agent, so you can imagine there's some negotiation going on there. But he actually suffered a shoulder injury back in January. So while the lockout was going down and he was doing some training, and I think he had some injuries too with the shoulder before. So that doesn't make him damaged goods, but it probably makes him something where people look twice before they say, yeah, let's bring him on the team for X amount of dollars. The X being whatever Scott Boras says it is.
Speaking of X amount of dollars, who's the team that's going to arbitration over $50,000?
Oh, good gravy. Yeah, let's talk about that. My gosh. So we're talking about Lucas Giolito. I mean, and this is the White Sox. We should probably get Nick Morowski on here. So, Nick, what the heck, man? You mean surely the cost of going to arbitration probably costs as much as the $50,000? Your team cannot negotiate with Lucas Giolito on what should be done in arbitration by a difference of $50,000. I mean, looking here, one article says what for the White Sox, a team worth $1.76 billion, according to Forbes, it's nothing. Yeah, it's nothing. Why does that even make sense? It doesn't.
I mean, throw a quarter the next time you go past guaranteed rate field or whatever it's called now. I don't know. Help them out, please. It's good to help your fellow man. But this is like if you and I went out to lunch and there was like a 50-cent difference and we argued over who was going to pay it. It's like, it's not that big of a deal, my guy. It's only $50,000 for you. Just pay the man.
You're on it, man. Throw that quarter in the guaranteed rate field.
And it's probably going to hurt them possibly in free agency because they're going to be looked at as like, oh man, $50,000. Are they cheap? They'll think twice about wanting to go there. Just throw that out there.
That's a real thing, Brandon. I mean, that makes sense. I don't know. Like I said, we got to get Nick Morowski on and ask him about that sometime soon. In a last little bit, I'll talk about something going on here. And I won't get into this because we'll let Brent Cardy get into it. And that is the recent trade for Matt Chapman to the Jays, man. That's going to be exciting stuff.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear what he has to say. I love hearing your interviews with other people. You did a great job with Matt Germain last week, so I thought I'd give you kudos there. I'm really excited to hear what he has to say, especially with, the loss of Robbie Ray. They lost some big names in the offseason. How that could have affected their outlook coming into this year.
Well, Brent's always got a lot to say. He's very poignant. And one thing you'll find out about him, he's intelligent about the game. He's got history. So when the conversation's going on, he isn't talking off the top of his head. He has a good, strong base of knowledge. And he certainly does when it comes to the Blue Jays. So let's go ahead and roll out with that interview with Brent right now. And with me today, I have Mr. Brent Cardy. If you want to know anything about the Blue Jays, he's the man to check it out with. And you can find him on Twitter at The Cardy Show. That's TheCardy Show. So you can find Brent there. And Brent, welcome to the show. How you doing today, buddy?
Hey, Cardy. Mark, good to see you, pal. Good to be back.
It's good to have you here, man. Here it is. It's Wednesday, early evening, 6:30, and the Jays should be playing the Yankees here in a few minutes. Looks like you guys got a different designated hitter is going to be out there tonight too.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting. And obviously, every time spring training, you're always going to mix and match. You want to give guys days off. You don't want to be putting even the regular season starting a little later this year. You still got to be careful, Mark. As you know, 162 game season. You don't want George Springer to be injured again, just like you guys don't want Yandy Diaz or Mike Zunino to get injured, right? So you got to be careful. It should be a good game tonight. I know Donaldson is leading off for the Yankees, and obviously the Jays are going to run out their guys, and it's going to be a good game. But honestly, well, let's fast forward to April 8th. I'm ready. I know you are too.
Oh, brother, you know what? 8 days away, and I am chomping at the bit. But man, oh man, it has been an exciting time for the Blue Jays. Last year, expectations were high for everybody. And things happened that just shouldn't have. But American League East, my gosh, that was jam-packed. I mean, the Rays were leading with 100 wins for the year. But then you look at the next three teams, Red Sox, Yankees, Blue Jays. Wow. Let's see, was it? They both had Red Sox and Yankees had 92 wins and Blue Jays had 91. You can't do any tighter than that. I mean, even if you look across the other divisions in the American League, White Sox only had 93 wins and the Astros, well, they had 95 wins, but still, that is tight.
It is, isn't it? And I mean, it just goes to show the competitive balance right now in Major League Baseball. And I know that was a big issue come to CBA and the lockout, but you look at some of the signings in the offseason that kind of surprise a lot of people, right? When you start in the AL East, obviously the Jays acquiring Matt Chapman's a big deal. The Jays did lose Marcus Semien, but Chapman, just like the Jays did with Donaldson and about 17 years before that with Eric Hinsky, should be all right at third base. You look in the Central, you brought up the Central, the Minnesota Twins. Mark, who saw Carlos Correa signing with the Minnesota Twins? I mean, nobody, right? So that division is going to be competitive. In the American League West, look what the Angels are quietly doing to their bullpen, bringing in Archie Bradley and Ryan Tepera. And then you saw what the Mariners did, signing Robbie Ray. Ken Giles, who used to close for the Blue Jays, should be closing games for Seattle this year. Mentioned Houston. Houston's going to be in that division. Texas went out and they get John Gray. They signed Marcus Semien and throw a ton of money at Corey Seager as well. So it's an exciting time to be a baseball fan. And, I'm glad they got the lockout and the CBA straightened out. But I can't call any division right now, and that's not a bad thing.
No, it tends to have a lot of excitement. And I think the American League East will be just as much or more so this year. But you brought up Robbie Ray, and I can't help but think of what happened from any team actually from 2021 to 2022. And there's a couple of hits with you guys. I mean, between Robbie Ray and Semien.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Robbie Ray. So if he goes to the Mariners and the Jays, they go out and get Kevin Gausman. And Gausman had some success with the Giants. And this might not be a popular take, so don't tell any Jays fans, but I'm a little nervous about Gausman. As you know, you saw Gausman in the American League East with the Orioles not do so well.
Yeah.
And Gausman didn't have a great second half in 2021. So I'm curious to see how that will go. We lose Semien, but I think a healthy George Springer is going to, kind of help take care of what we lost there. And then Chapman as well. Look, Chapman belted 36 home runs in 2019 playing in the biggest ballparks. Most of his games in the biggest ballparks. So I wouldn't be surprised. 40 home runs from Matt Chapman this year is not out of the question if he's healthy. So I'm not too concerned. I'm a little more concerned on the pitching side. They got Yasiel Kikuchi as well. The Jays did. And, you have Ryu and Manoah, who is great, who is absolutely robbed, by the way, of a Rookie of the Year award. Finishing 8th is a freaking travesty.
Yeah.
And Jose Barrios has been fantastic since coming over from the Minnesota Twins. He is the number one guy, and he's going to get the ball opening night against Texas. So exciting. Some work to do for sure in the starting rotation, I think, but it is set. They're going to have to prove themselves, and we'll see what happens.
You mentioned awards. I want to kind of take a look back to when let's see, 2021. Let's see, Robbie Ray, he came away with 29 of the 30 votes for the Cy Young Award for American League. That is
which is nuts, right? Because he was up against Garrett Cole.
Yeah,
right?
Garrett got one. He got one vote. Yeah, then beneath that you had others like Lance Lynn, Nate Eovaldi, Carlos Rodon. So you great company. Any reason in particular you think the Blue Jays weren't able to keep Robbie Ray?
I think Robbie Ray is an interesting guy. And, this was the first year that he's had success like this. To start the season in 2021, a lot of people thought that he would kind of be the bulk guy out of the bullpen, kind of a swingman type. They did not expect what Robbie Ray did. Robbie Ray also only throws 2 pitches, sometimes 3 pitches. And there is a concern that baseball will get around to those pitches. So then Robbie Ray will have to go back again and make adjustments, right? And can he make those adjustments at this stage in the game? I don't know. But yeah, I think that was part of it. Is Gausman an upgrade over Ray? No, I don't think so. I think they're about the same. I think Gausman's contract might carry a little less risk, even though it's longer term. But yeah, we're going to see what happens. But I think it's because Ray throws 2 pitches primarily. And, if you don't have your windup set, a repeatable windup to protect what you're throwing, hitters are going to see that. There was a situation in Baltimore, I don't know if you saw, with Brandon Hyde and Robbie Ray, and he thought the Orioles were the Orioles said Robbie was tipping his pitches. So it's anyways. But yeah, I mean, that's why Robbie had a great year. The Jays didn't expect it. I think that was part of it too. Robbie only made $8 million in 2021, and that's another reason why he's a Seattle Mariner today.
I'm going to be curious to see how he plays throughout with Seattle. And as far as Gausman is concerned, I thought maybe he might not be in a lead rotation, but maybe more of somebody who comes in and relieves. What do you think? Is that a possibility?
I don't think he's going to come in to relieve with the money that the Jays are paying him. I think he's a number 2, number 3 starter.
Gotcha. Okay.
And number 3, I say, because they have 2 lefties in the rotation. A lot of people would, if it were up to Blue Jays Nation, they would have Hyun-Jin Ryu and Yasiel Kikuchi 4 and 5. Unfortunately, baseball doesn't work like that. You want to split up your lefties. So I see Gausman as the number 2 guy. So he'd probably be starting on the 9th, and we'll see what happens. If the splitter works, that's great. If it doesn't, then the Jays are going to have to figure out what plan B, C, and D will be.
What about the new guy, or relatively new guy who was up for Rookie of the Year last year, Manoah?
Alek Manoah is a bulldog. He's such a throwback. He's got such a presence about him. He attacks the strike zone. He's a good teammate. I don't know if you saw this when the Jays were playing the Rays, but anytime there was a home run, and Manoah's on the mound, Manoah's the first guy out of the dugout, put the home run jacket on whoever hit the home run. And, Manoah, the thing that really impressed me about him is, around the 6th or 7th inning, and then a lot of the starts that I watch, in baseball, Mark, 2 times through the order is A. You don't go a 3rd time through the order. He would plead. He would essentially beg and plead with Charlie Montoya to say, listen, give me the ball. Let me go out there until as long as I can, because he knows how important it is to save the bullpen. And he understands, he understands how to get 18 outs every 5 days. That's why he started. That's why he's got a prominent spot in that rotation. And Nate Pearson, I know a guy I'm sure you're going to ask me about. That's why Nate has it, because Nate hasn't been able to not only stay healthy, but figure how to do that yet, how to execute those pitches.
And so rotation, we're saying that Manoah, Barrios, Gausman, Ryu, Kikuchi, is it?
Barrios, Gausman, Ryu, Manoah, Kikuchi. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, once again, jumping back to awards, we were talking about Robbie Ray and the Cy Young. We kind of started out with that. We looked at the MVP, American League Award last year, and they're not completely unsurprising that unanimous, it is Shohei Ohtani. But right there, right side beside him is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And then third, what come in is Marcus Semien. I'm sorry, but is this going to be like Tiger Woods? There's no other golfers but Tiger Woods for years. Is there not going to be anybody else who can win the MVP of the American League but Ohtani? Is he going to cast a shadow across every other player in the game?
Yes. I'll tell you why.
I like that once
because he can pitch, he can throw 95, 96. He's going to be their opening day starter, and the things he does to the stick, and on the bases, and he can play the outfield. We haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah.
Now, can Shohei Ohtani stay healthy every year?
True.
That's going to be the big question. If he can't, then you're going to see other people win the American League MVP. And any other year, Vladimer Guerrero wins the MVP. Marcus Semien wins the MVP. But not in 2021, maybe not in 2022 if Ohtani's healthy. It is what it is. And all we can do, my friend, is sit back and enjoy him. Stay up late, sit back and enjoy him.
Well, yeah, stay up late too, out there with the Angels. But I guess you could look at that and say, well, is Mike Trout? Because he hadn't been able to stay healthy for a long time. Yeah. And you see both of those guys at one point, I think you could consider them almost generational players. Somebody, Here's a fun thing too, folks. If you're a Jays fan, and I am actually, while I am a Rays fan, I'm actually a fan of baseball overall. So I love watching all of them. But last year, watching the Blue Jays and saying, okay, they're playing the home team tonight. Okay, where are they playing? Oh, that's right. They're in Dunedin at the beginning of the season. And now they're in Buffalo. Oh, Buffalo's their home ground. And then, wow, we finally made it back to Rogers Center in Toronto. Oh my gosh. Wow. It's crazy because when you think of a team that has to have 3 locations for their home, it can really kind of shake things up.
Yeah, it can. And this is the more important part of how this team got 91 wins, the more impressive part, I should say, playing in 3 home stadiums. And then everybody in 2022 is complaining that unvaccinated players can't cross into Canada, and that's a home field advantage. And as a Jays fan, I have no time for that. And as a human being who has followed the COVID process, I also have no time for that. So listen, I mean, this team is resilient. They're hungry. They're young. And they got a lot of depth. They have more depth than I've ever seen. When you look in the minor leagues with guys like Anthony Kay, Trent Thornton. We signed Dexter Fowler today to a minor league deal. What's up with that? But hey, I'll take it. Greg Bird, another guy that you'll probably see in Toronto Friday, April 8th. So this team's got a lot of depth. They've got a lot of resilience. And that's why they got 91 wins. And, a full season in Toronto, it's going to benefit this. The Rogers Center will be packed. As long as, don't get taken over by COVID again. It's going to be an exciting year for Jays fans, for sure.
Well, indeed. And I'm looking forward to it, my friend. I know we won't have the time today to talk about it, but you got some good guys who are up and coming, and we can talk about them on another show. But one last thing, too. As far as Rogers, they're actually making some renovations there.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out the lower bowl for the fans and make it premium seating, so more money that guys like you and I don't have. And they're trying to make player development better. The player, the batting cages. I've been inside the batting cages there. They definitely need a lot of work. And the player facilities, the weight rooms, and, they're trying to renovate that to kind of look like what they have in Dunedin at their player development complex, which I think is a great thing. And it's going to bring higher tier free agents to Toronto for sure. And they probably won't change the away facilities, the road team facilities, so when the Rays come to town, they're going to get smoked, and that's what it's all about, my friend.
Well, we know that some of the other ones, like our dear good friend Mr. Aaron Judge, won't be able to do it at all because he's not vaxxed, but that's no other road.
That's okay. Too bad.
That's too bad. All right, brother. One last thing. So what are we looking at for what's the expectation? What's the win-loss record I would expect to see in after 162 games for the Blue Jays?
I would probably say this team is going to have 95 wins. And then I've been up since 2 a.m., so I can't figure out the losses. My math's not as good as it used to be, but 95 wins should get them into the playoffs for sure, especially with the expanded playoffs. It's going to be great.
All right, exciting. Brent. Well, thank you again for joining us today again, Brent. And that is Brent Cardy from The Cardy Show. And you can find him on Twitter. Plus, where can they listen to you as well on your own podcast, sir?
Anywhere you get your podcast, Mr. Corbett, sir. Thank you so much for listening and having me on, as always. And we'll do it again soon.
It's a pleasure. Take care, buddy. Okay, wow. Another fantastic interview. And we had, like you were saying last week, we had Nat Germain, too, with the Red Sox. That was on one of our former shows, as well as Matt Germain about the Rays. We're going to try to get more and more folks who can talk specifically about their teams on Baseball Biz. And really, I'm very thankful that Brent was able to participate with us on this one.
Yeah, another good interview. And don't think you're giving yourself a little pat on the back there a second ago slip past me. I heard that. Saying you did a fantastic interview.
I did indeed, bro. I'm just that's how we're gonna say.
Hey,
Oh,
it was though.
oh my gosh, man! I can't wait for this season. I mean, I'm trying to get all geared up with this. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to watch these games. You and I talked a little bit about this before. I mean, I've got Ballys Sports, I guess, if I get my cable going here, because I forget how many markets they're in, but they're more than most of them. Of the 30 markets, are in like about 14 of them. And I'm going to have to get that to watch. I'm looking for the day that we have all those regional markets streaming, no blackouts and that sort of thing, because my other option is MLB.tv. What are you using right now, Brandon?
For the most part, I just use the basic stuff. I use Ballys to watch the Rays, or ESPN if there's a game on there, or MLB Network, since especially during the nights they bounce around on MLB Tonight. So that's usually what I rely on to watch out of market games.
Yeah. Yeah. And also it's interesting too, because there were some games on YouTube last year, and I'll be curious to see if they do some more like that.
I think they would. I thought that was kind of a smart idea of them, especially for day games, to where people, even though you can stream on your phone a little bit more now, everybody can easily watch something on YouTube. You can just type it in. You don't even need to have an account.
Yeah, that's enjoyable, and no extra subscription fee, so that's pretty good. But with MLB.tv, I like the idea of it, but I don't like blackouts. And while it is a live game, and you can't really DVR it and go back and watch the whole game, they do have like little abbreviated games and highlights and that sort of thing you watch later. But me, I like to be able to save the game, come back at a time. It's being an old guy, I mean, I want to stay up to 2 a.m. on a long game.
I don't think many people want to stay up to 2 a.m. to watch a game anyways.
No. But one last thing I'll say about MLB.tv is they do have an offer going on. This is not an endorsement, but I just thought it's worth knowing. They're saying beginning April 5th, customers with T-Mobile, Sprint, and Metro by T-Mobile can receive a free 1-year subscription to MLB.tv. And let's see, they announced that on Tuesday. It's right in time for Major League Baseball's opening day on April 7th, when the New York Yankees face off the Boston Red Sox to kick off the 2022 season. Oh, my.
It's their weekly viewing of Yankees Red Sox.
All right. Yeah, we know they don't completely overwhelm everything else when it comes to watching the games from the Central or East. But all right, brother. Well, anything else we need to know about or talk about with wonderful world of baseball this week?
Actually, yes, I found this. Well, actually, we kind of touched on it a little bit this morning, but I saw it yesterday. The Home Run Derby X. It's going to be a global tour with stops in London, Seoul, and Mexico City in 2022. And I'm sure there's going to be more stops, but those are the 3 that they put out there so far. And it will feature former MLB stars, including Adrian Gonzalez, Johnny Gomes, Giovanni Soto, and Nick Swisher, competing as part of teams on a reduced version of a baseball field. And the teams will represent the 4 oldest teams, the Red Sox, Cubs, Dodgers, and Yankees. And there's a whole bunch of rules to it. I won't really get into it, but we might do something on it later if we have the time, or you can go read it yourself or go see it yourself. But it looks like it's going to be 4 teams with 4 different categories on the roster. You're going to have an MLB legend, a superstar, which is a player who comes from the world of softball or women's baseball, a rookie that comes from the men's baseball development system, and a wild card, which could be an influencer or content creator. So this could be a cool thing. It kind of seemed like Monster Jam with the stick and ball sport in a way. That's the first thing I thought of. But I mean, this could be something. I don't know if it's going to last long, but it's something different. And I mean, baseball could use something a little bit different.
I like it. I like it a lot. So when is this and where should I be looking for it?
I haven't seen really any dates for anything yet, but if you plan to go to London, they'll be there July 9th, Seoul September 17th, or Mexico City on October 15th. So I don't know if you have plans to go over there anytime soon.
Well, yeah, of course I did, man. No. So that's Home Run Derby X. And keep your eyes and ears open and follow. We'll give you updates as we get them.
Yeah, hopefully they do something on YouTube with it, because this could be something interesting to check out, because kind of like how the XFL or the USFL is coming back this spring, it could be something like that. Even though it's not a development league, it's sort of like a side league that could help gain a little bit more interest or hold your interest too.
Do you think we get some WWE promotion with that?
Oh, maybe we could be the influential content creators.
Ooh, I like this. I like it already. All right, man. Well, let me keep my eye on that. Any other craziness we need to be aware of, Brandon?
No, I think we got the crazy all out for this week.
All right, man. Well, it's been yet another fun week here on Baseball Biz, and that's Brandon Noe, my co-host. And you can find Brandon at the Sports Split Pod. Is it? No.
Oh, no.
You can find Brandon at what now?
It's at Sports Splits Pod.
At Sports Splits Pod. I'm at the Baseball Biz, but you're at Sports Splits Pod. And Brandon, you want to take us out of here?
All right, yeah, sure. Thanks everybody for listening again. Remember to like, rate, review, subscribe, spread the word about all of us, about our shows, and we appreciate it. It really helps us out. And you can go back to listen to old shows, listen to times we were right or times where we were horribly wrong. We were both plenty of times, and it's always a good laugh. So thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Yes, indeed. Okay, folks. Well, we look forward to talking again real soon. And special thanks to XTake RUX for the music rocking forward.